Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to again the new episode of Get Set Go, a series wherein we have multiple champions with us who will give you a guidebook on how to go about your preparation of MBA CET. Today we have a very special guest with us, Ms. Priyanka Patil, who has been a 99.68 percentiler in MBA CET 2021 and is currently a SIMSREE admit. Yes, a Sydenham admit. It's actually our pleasure that despite her hectic schedule, she has managed to come down for this interview. In fact, we are recording this very early morning, and I'm really thankful to her for giving us this time. So, Priyanka, welcome to this interview series.
Thank you so much, sir, for those humble words. And, it is a pleasure and it gives me a lot of motivation when mentors like you and Sachin, sir, obviously, when they acknowledge our efforts and hard working we have put in and to be in a place where we are right now. So thank you so much for giving me this platform also to share my experiences.
It's our pleasure, and you completely deserve the acknowledgements that you have. So, without much delay, I won't be stretching it too much because I know you have sessions to attend. So, I'll straight away head towards the discussion. Uh, the very first question is quite interesting. In fact, many students have requested us to ask this. So, there are many students who usually repeat MBA CET or any entrance test. And there is a particular fear कि sir last time मैंने let's say 80s में score किया था 80 percentile and now I want to get into that 99.xyz percentile. So the first thing is it possible to go from 80s percentile to 99.xy, and how should one traverse this journey?
Well, it is very much possible, very much possible. When I started my journey, my first attempt I gave in March 2020, I got a 97.48 percentile. At that time, I was only able to cover the syllabus and give some couple of mocks. I never knew the entire pattern of what CT was. I just went for it because nothing was so much of planned. So in my humble opinion, 80% bracket are those students who are actually giving CT for a feel, who are not well prepared for it. A 90 and 95 bracket people are those who have done with the syllabus but not given much of mocks. 95 and 99 are the people who have given a little bit mocks. So the entire game boils down to where you actually have to reach. The real game starts when you have to go beyond 99 percentile, 99.10, 20, 30. And for this period, what helps is giving mocks. See, mock is an actual battlefield. You study, you learn the concepts, it is good. But you actually have to perform on that day under a certain pressure. You have these many thoughts rushing in your head, whether you will be able to convert your college, whether you will be faced, whether you will be faced to, tackle the questions.
Right.
And these real life situations can be handled by using virtual simulations while actually giving those mocks in those particular scenario at your home. So it is very much possible to go from 80 to a 99 or even beyond 99, provided you are consistent in your efforts, you have a great mentor, and you follow a very structured path.
Okay, interesting.
I
I
have
think
done it, so I think anyone can do it.
great, and an interesting answer to listen, Priyanka. In fact, some of the words that you talked about quite fascinating. So you mentioned virtual simulations and the analytical ability during preparation. So can you maybe throw a bit more light on virtual simulations?
Yeah. So I would say I'll start with on the D-Day, when actually the situation was very haywire, when I got to realize I was in slot 2 and I actually knew what was happening in slot 1. My mom was sitting beside me and she was actually checking all the videos. I very particularly told her not to tell me anything because I don't wanted any kind of preconception.
Right.
But she said that entire paper has changed. You have to see this. And I was like, okay, just show me. And then I got to realize, I got to get that 200 questions had been jumbled up and things are little bit changed. So I was like, okay, nothing much changes for me. Anyway, my little strategy got changed. Now you don't have to tackle section wise, you have to go 30 30 40, that strategy. It was that simple for me.
Right.
But what happened was, when I was actually attempting the paper, I was going solving the questions, I realized that this is not the same what I have been preparing for the past year. I could see a lot many quant questions, and I could see some visual questions which I actually never practiced. It was of
Okay.
counting stuff. It was
Mhm.
something that was questions from the very past of CTs. At that time, a hint of panic actually got to me, and I was like कि ये क्या हो गया भाई, साल भर से जो कर रहे हैं, तो what happened at that moment?
Right.
And then I made myself conscious about the efforts I have been putting past since 1 year. And I told myself ki irrespective of what the paper is, what the question is, you have got this, because I have done so much of things in my past preparation that it actually molded me as a person. It molded my mentality in such a way that irrespective of what comes in front of you, you will be doing one question at a time and you will reach at the end.
Mhm.
So talking about those simulations, I would say that I had my batch had an undue advantage of time. So I attempted a lot more of mocks. I attempted 110 mocks in my
Oh.
entire one entire 1 year
Interesting.
period. And I used to attempt mocks in cases. Like I sometimes used to attempt 2 mocks in a day, 3 mocks in a day, just to check what if I am tired and am I still able to give my mock. I used to attempt mock late at night. I used to attempt mock at the very early morning. I used to attempt somewhere in the middle, just to check whether my body is adapting to the situation, whether my mind is still working in the same fashion,
Wow.
irrespective of any time, any lethargy or anything. What happens is these competitive exams not only test your ability, but it tests your mental
Mhm.
resilient
Right.
against that paper. How are you handling the situation? So when students learn about the syllabus, about giving mock, I would recommend that you consciously start building your emotional quotient, because that helps to reduce your response time to any question or any scenario in general. What I saw in my journey was, when I used to start the mocks, I used to get lot of panic attacks when I was unable to complete my section in time, when I was unable to get that particular mark. And then I realized that it is a journey. You will come across these hurdles, and you have to overcome it bit by bit. And that is how I started building my emotional quotient. If you are facing any problem, solve it. Do not panic, because panic will create more problems for you. You sit with the question, you solve it, you move ahead. And this was my strategy for building that emotional quotient. And on that D day, when I was sitting on my in front of my screen, and I knew that entire thing has changed. Irrespective of that, I knew that I had faith in my studies, in my journey, and I'll do it. I'll go one by one question at a time, and I'll reach at the end. And I did exactly the same. And when I came out of my examination hall, my mom has actually saw all the questions and all the videos on YouTube, and she was like, "How is she gonna react now?" And I just said one word more. I said one word to her mom. I handled it. Whatever happened, I did my best, and whatever will happen is the thing I'll deserve. And she was like, ठीक है, ये कुछ तो करके आई है, अब घर जा सकते हैं. So yeah, that was the entire scenario for me.
Wow, I think that's I would rather call it a warrior mentality, because that is what is expected from a champion. And truly, you mentioned about mental strength. You mentioned
Yeah.
about all those virtual simulations, and I believe this point. Maybe I would like all the aspirants to note this point. The way she pursued the examination, the surrounding. This is quite different, and I believe. So when I used to prepare, so on one of the study materials, there was this beautiful line written related to preparation. I think it is given by Zig Ziglar that success is 1% aptitude and 99% attitude. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that is what it boils down to. मतलब बातें करने के लिए हम काफी करते हैं, but character
Yeah, yeah,
testing actually it happens during such instance. Great,
yeah, yeah.
quite happy with the answer. So the next question, and I think a follow up to your preparation is the importance of mocks, because you mentioned now that you wrote close to 100 odd mocks. That's a big
Yeah,
number. So according to
yeah,
you, what is the importance of mock? But I would like to highlight you more on how did you analyze your mock. So mock analysis, maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, how many mocks and how much mocks you should give, I won't be covering that because my friend Abhijit already has covered that.
Yeah.
We actually met during one of the Toppernicus workshops only. We were in touch and we just lost touch in some days. But yeah, amazing session that was. I actually loved it. Uh, Seeing him after a long time. Yeah, so I'll start with mock analysis first, and then we'll move head by head. So I always, first of all, I will suggest that you make a mock sheet, an Excel sheet. Always maintain a mock Excel sheet because it helps you track your progress, how you are doing, and it just helps you do that.
Okay.
Second is I always used to distribute my entire mock analysis in three parts. First of all, I would like to say that if you are giving a mock, you spend a huge amount of time analyzing it. I myself used to spend around 6 to 7 hours analyzing one mock. I used to start with question one, and I used to reach to question 200. Full paper I used to cover. Now you would say ye kya pagalpanti hai, but that is not it. You are supposed to analyze your mock in very thoroughly and in deep strength,
Right.
and this time will keep on gradually decrease as you start converting your weaknesses into strengths. But if you're a starter in a mocks, you should give that much of amount of time, and I would tell you why you give that much amount of time. So first is how I used to analyze mock is, first I used to do all my wrong questions. Second, all the questions I left or fluke questions, and third were the questions which I did right. So first wrong questions may I used to see what actually happened. So there are two scenarios: either it is a conceptual error, either it is a human error. So if it is a conceptual error, you have to go back to your books, redo the concept, and then come back again. If it is a human error, boss, उसमें कुछ कर नहीं सकते. You actually have to take a very conscious effort to not do those errors. What I feel is, if there is a very what stands between a topper and a non-topper, I won't say non-topper, a non-performer or one who cannot reach here,
Mhm.
that line is actually human errors.
Oh.
I used to make 30 to 40 human errors when I started with my journey. 30 to 40 human errors. And these are very silly errors. Option D है, but मैंने mark किया B. South में जा रहा है direction, I marked north. Any sort of human error. 33% है, I marked 34. Any sort of human error should be avoided because even a single mark makes a huge amount of difference.
Right.
And when you are in that bracket, you know, where when you are there at the very top of the line, it makes a huge difference. It is a big difference.
Definitely.
So first of all, you start eliminating your human errors. ये एक दिन का काम नहीं होता है. It is a very big journey. You consciously have to put in very efforts. I used to maintain this mock book analysis, and I used to actually write each and every error I am doing. प्रॉपरली लिखती थी. 23 का मैंने 33 किया, गलत. आई यूज्ड टू राइट दिस. ऑप्शन डी के जगह बी लिखा, गलत. एक्चुअली यूज्ड टू राइट दिस. I used to do very less conceptual mistakes, but huge of these human errors. So I would just request all my friends out there कि starting से ही ये errors पे काम करो, because last में it becomes a very pile of burden, and sometimes it is very unable to handle it.
Right.
And for conceptual, for the left questions या fluked ones, I would say कि we see the answer and we think, अरे ये तो मुझे अभी आएगा, ये तो मुझे आता है. But what happens is, there's this tendency that we understand things after looking the solution. But होता ये है कि why not during the exam then? Exam के time क्या होगा? तभी भी आता था तो अभी भी आना ही चाहिए था ना. So try questioning yourself that why do you fail to apply that concept during the exam? Is there a mental block? या फिर is there a you forget the concept? Yeah, is there a time pressure because of which you cannot think? These questions are very critical. They are very simple, but they are very critical, and every student should ask खुद को कि क्यों नहीं हुआ ऐसे. If it is a time pressure, then you have to build yourself in such a manner कि तुम at that time also you can think. So how can you do that? Give
Right.
sections test, give छोटे छोटे test. Even I still remember Toppernicus started this free test giving sessions for 10 minutes. It actually helped me a lot, because any time of the day agar mujhe problem aaya, I used to open it and I used to solve it. And tabhi I used to understand ki itne time mein now I can do this, now I can do that. So any chota chota test, you start timing yourself. बहुत important होता है, because what happens is जब हम concepts पढ़ते हैं, when we start reading or we solving, we don't do that under a time. We'll think कि हाँ mock में तो कर ही लेंगे ना, mock में तो time होता ही है. But what happens is our body and our mind started relaxing at that time when you're solving.
Right.
And it comes under a very constraint of time when you solve a mock. Actually, you are working on a very two different scenario and you're expecting the same results. जो नहीं होता. So you start timing your even your practice sessions in such a way that your mind starts developing in such manner that you will actually click the concept when you're under exam. So that is how I built myself. And for the right ones, अब तुम सोचोगे भाई right तो हो गया, देखना क्यों है, why to waste time ना, we'll move to the concept. नहीं, what I felt that there is always another possible solution which will take less time, or you might find another concept which is related to this concept you are aware or you are unaware of. So even the right questions teaches you.
Right.
So when you analyze your entire mock, make sure you abstract most of the information you can get, most of the inference you can get. How I used to write is I used to make notes. I love making notes. I still do. I don't know. आप नहीं याद रख सकते सब चीजें. So keeping a note of it, always make sure कि you can go back to that page or that book. So how I used to make notes is I used to make verbal ka one section, quants ka one section, abstract ka one section, logic. And I used to jot down every point. कि आज पैरा जंबल नहीं हुआ, ये गलत हो गया, ये कंजक्शन रॉन्ग हो गया, मुझे आज वो कैब नहीं आया. For DI or anything I screw up used to do in my mock, I used to write that. Visual ka itna mast I used to actually, visual and verbal were one of my weakest sections. Visual to bhai, thank God wo chala gaya hai abhi. So how I used to prepare is I used to actually write the logic. I used to make those elements. I used to use these colorful pens and used to make sure कि ये logic ऐसे जाता है. I used to literally write it down so that I can go back to those pages again while revision. These all notes are very important because they come in handy at the very later part of your time. क्योंकि एकदम end में आपके पास करने के लिए कुछ होता नहीं है, करेंगे क्या ऐसा सोचते, it's better to read those pages.
Right.
So yeah, so this is how I used to analyze my mock. बहुत time जाता था. I used to write each and every bit, and gradually the time changed. मतलब time कम हो गया और मेरे notes making भी कम हो गए because I started converting my weaknesses into my strengths. That is how I started improving in my mocks. Yeah.
Great. I think that is the reason just I could hear you out about the efforts that you have put in. So you talked about conceptual and human errors. That was a beautiful point, I think. And I believe there is a pattern in the human error. So if you observe it carefully, you will see कि ये silly mistakes इसी area में ज़्यादा होते हैं. Like you said, though we cannot do much on it, but then there are certain areas where we can improve. And one of the things that I tell the students very frequently is about meditation. I think it comes very handy, though it may look off topic wala thing, but meditation comes very handy to make sure that you avoid such errors. So, and
actually,
you also,
I would just like to add one point in the meditation part. At a very middle part of my journey, around when I was done with my Toppernicus workshops, I think after April or May something, I had a huge emotional breakdown because dates आ नहीं रहे थे, कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि एग्जाम होगा भी नहीं. एक साल से प्रिपेयर तो कर रही हूँ, but there is nothing to execute. I actually did not study in those 7 days, and my brother was visiting me. He saw all this scenario and he was like, why don't you meditate?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, ये नहीं होगा मुझसे, ये नहीं होगा मुझसे, नहीं होगा मुझसे. I was just कि उससे better है, I'll just listen some songs, I'll go for a walk, I'll just go, but I won't do it. He literally sat down with me. वो बोला तो मेरे साथ कर. So he gave me these musics. He told me just to be sit still for 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Do not think of anything. Not even of your exam. Just be there. Do not sleep, but just be there. So when I did this, for initial 15 to 16 days, there was no effect. I was like, kya phaltu giri hai ye? But I had to do because my brother was there. But then when he left, I actually started, improving. And how I improved was that response time I was telling now. I used to be very calm during my exams because of meditation. And it actually helped me in a lot more manner than I can explain.
Yeah.
And it was amazing journey. It will sound old school. Sabko lagega ya kya, yeah, but I would still recommend meditation is a still powerful tool. It helped me in reducing my response time. शायद conceptually ज़्यादा नहीं help किया रहेगा. But again, अगर आपका reaction time कम हो रहा है, you are being more calm, you are getting less panicked, you are actually increasing your chances to get that question right at that moment.
Beautiful.
So I would absolutely recommend anyone who is even thinking of doing it, just do it.
Yeah, right. In fact, I may be wrong, but maybe one of the factors that can be attributed to your performance on the D-Day could be meditation,
Yeah.
because
And
actually the
I
paper
actually
was
meditated at that point also for five
oh,
minutes.
great.
My mom made me do it.
Yeah,
There, just sit it and do it.
right. Because it was a state wherein many students went haywire, went frenzy, and it takes a lot of efforts to be in a state of peace and calm, like
Yeah.
MS Dhoni does always in the cricket match. So I think
Yeah.
so really I think answered in a very well way. You pointed out so many things, and brilliant. I think mock analysis part has been done clearly. The next question that I would like to turn toward is so I still remember the efforts that you have put, especially on the VARC section, right? And so while you are talking that it was one of your weaknesses, but I don't think so. By the time you ended on the CET streak, I think you had made it one of your strengths, in fact. So from you, I would like to know two things. First, what is the importance of VARC in the MBA CET? The reason being that quant और रीजनिंग ये तो बहुत जल्दी हीरो तय हो जाते हैं, बट देन इंग्लिश
Yeah.
ऐसा होता है कि यार स्टूडेंट्स यूजुअली टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड. And the second thing is, according to you, why is VRC so important in the journey?
Yeah. First I'll start with कि अगर मुझे 2 साल पुरानी प्रियंका को कुछ एडवाइस देना हो, तो I'll just give one thing. You start with VARC and you do all your best in that section. Because VARC, verbal are the easiest marks one could get. Very easiest. Very less time. Thinking ज़्यादा होता नहीं है. It is very easy to gain those marks. And it is the most neglected section. People have tendency to say कि बाकी sections में cover कर लेंगे. But ये भूल जाते हैं कि you are putting actually a lot of pressure in other sections to perform.
Right.
And जब आप pressure बढ़ाते हो खुद के लिए other sections में, वो नहीं होता. That is not how it works. And we all know that CET 21 has shown such uncertainties in things. And actually, while I was giving my exam, verbal was something that actually put me through. I am here. I could say this very proudly. Quants to tha hi tha because I was pretty much okay with that. But verbal was a major part of my exam. And it helped me to get where I am right now. So what happens is, including verbal has a purpose in our entire MBA competitive exam is because in colleges, they don't treat you like students. They treat you like MBA professionals,
Right.
because you are entering in a very professional manner and you're going out in your professional world in the coming 1 year. So they expect you to be very thorough with your communication, thorough in your representation. You should be very confident to put a point in front of your seniors or your mentors. If you can't do that, कितना भी knowledge हो, उसका कोई point नहीं है. If you can't put your point through. So that is how these verbal makes a very important point. And also, you have to solve a lot of case studies in your MBA. आपके पास time बहुत कम होता है. So your importance of skimming and reading those passages comes handy at that point. But फटाफट read करके you actually have to come up with a solution and a presentation in that constrained time. And that is why passage reading ये verbal में डाला जाता है. You know, इतना सारा चीजें मुझे आप समझ में आया when I am actually in a B school right now. तभी अगर मुझे कोई बताता ना, I would have been much grateful to that person. इसलिए मैं बहुत I'll urge my all fellow friends to just focus on that verbal because these are important points. आगे जाके they make a huge difference in your entire presentation, your professionalism. It makes a huge difference. And how I started is I made a really a big effort क्योंकि मुझे पता था अगर मेरी नाव लगनी है तो मुझे verbal करना होगा. I started from a very early stage and बहुत structured manner में मैंने अपना verbal का पूरा पढ़ाई किया. I had the liberty of time, so I actually went a very extra mile to do things. First, I started with although I started with grammar rules. मैंने रेन एंड मार्टिन के कुछ ऐसे पॉइंट्स निकाल के रख दिए थे जहां से मुझे ग्रामर आना चाहिए. मुझे ग्रामर नहीं आता, मुझे तब भी ठीक से नहीं आया था. ये एग्जाम में इट एक्चुअली डू और डज में क्या डिफरेंस होता है आई नेवर थॉट, बट दिस एग्जाम एक्चुअली मेड मी रियलाइज देयर इज अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ डिफरेंस. सो आई स्टार्टेड विद ग्रामर. ऑल द रूल्स मैंने प्रैक्टिस करना स्टार्ट किए थे. सेकेंड, वोकैबुलरी इज द मोस्ट निग्लेक्टेड पार्ट, बट मेरे एग्जाम में डायरेक्ट 4 to 5 क्वेश्चंस वोकैबुलरी के थे. एंड एक्चुअली आई अटेम्प्टेड ऑल ऑफ देम क्योंकि मैंने वो प्रैक्टिस किए थे. मैंने तभी भी भगवान को इतना हाँ ये बोला कि थैंक गॉड दैट आई डिड इट व्हाट आई डिड इट बिकॉज एट दैट अनसर्टन टाइम्स एवरी मार्क मैटर्ड टू मी. सो देयर आर मेनी वीडियोज ऑन यूट्यूब जहाँ पे ये वोकैबुलरी होता है. एंड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड टेल एवरीवन टू जॉइन टेलीग्राम का टॉपरनिकस चैनल बिकॉज दैट इज हाउ आई केम थ्रू टॉपरनिकस. एक्चुअली वो चैनल दैट चैनल gives you each and every question, कुछ भी grammar question हो, verbal every day the channel puts it, and it actually helped me in building my these schedule. You know, vocabulary करना है आज इतने words करने हैं. I used to learn a lot of things. बहुत सारे words मैं पढ़ लेती थी and used to write everything. Jotting down तो मेरा hobby था ही. I used to write everything and I will make sure that I add some example to it. So that is how I started improving vocabulary. I used to use those words in my conversations, you know, with my friends or my brother. I used to talk in such high languages and I used to make sure that I'm giving them that meaning of that word so that वो मेरे दिमाग में register हो जाए. Third is I made a category of sentence completion, probable starters, ऑड मैन आउट, समरी, ये सारे पैरा जंबल्स, ये सारे का मैंने एक कैटेगरी बना लिया एंड आई स्टार्टेड फोकसिंग ऑन देम. पैरा जंबल मुझे तब भी नहीं आता था, पैरा जंबल अब मुझे अभी नहीं आता. बट व्हाट हैपेंस इज हर एक इंडिविजुअल का अलग होता है. सम पीपल आर वेरी गुड इन पैरा जंबल, सम आर नॉट, बट दैट डजंट मीन कि आप पैरा जंबल छोड़ दो. एब्सोल्युटली नॉट. You should know all the basics, foundations of solving any question. Irrespective of आपको आता हो या ना आता हो, you should know it because whenever it comes handy, आपको नहीं पता. So even when I attended verbal section, we actually did some odd 100-150 questions on grammar first lecture में. So उसमें मेरे सारे points cover हो चुके थे Toppernicus workshop में for grammar. Second, you gave some very good hacks on parajumbles. कि कंजंक्शन कैसे होता है, जनरल टू स्पेसिफिक कैसे जाते हैं, चेंज ऑफ टोन कैसे पहचानते हैं, नेगेटिव टू पॉजिटिव, वेरी स्पेसिफिक टू जनरल. दीज आई एक्चुअली learned it during the workshop, so that was amazing for me. And then the last, I used to keep reading the passages. See, passages मेरे से कभी complete हुए नहीं because time नहीं रहता था, but I used to make sure that I go through all questions. Because direct vocabulary I can do, idioms and phrases I can do. So that for these questions you actually don't have to refer the passage. You refer the passage for some very specific questions, for inferences, etc. But you make a habit to read every passage. At the end of my mock, I used to read every passage. शायद समझ में आता था, नहीं आता था, it is okay. That doesn't matter at that point. You read it. because you come across some words, some phrases that will actually stay for you and that help you in your further exams. So I used to read each and every passages. जो भी मिलता था, मुझे बहुत गुस्सा भी आता था कि क्या है, कितना बोर हो रहा है. But I used to make point कि नहीं, I am reading it, and I read a lot in that entire period. I watched so many videos. There are so many good YouTube channels also, which actually provide this much of information. And I used to start read, I used to listen to it. So that is how I started building my this vocab ka pura dictionary धीरे धीरे धीरे. And एक tip मैं देना चाहूंगी सबको is never underestimate the power of consistency. What we keep, I was very consistent with my verbal. शायद बाकी sections को इतना नहीं था, but I knew कि verbal is not a one day cheese. You have to keep it at it until you get there. तो ये मेरा जो पूरा journey था 3-4 months का verbal का, it actually started giving me fruits at the very later part of my exam. End में I started इतना मतलब I improved in such a manner that I used to get 36, 37. My highest score was 42 in my entire verbal section out of 50 in very later stages of my mocks. At that point, I felt such peace that night. I was like, itne महीनों का जो मैं कर रही हूँ, it is actually making sense now. Right. So I'll just urge for those people who neglect verbal या who are not giving that much of time. Every section is equally important in your exam. सिर्फ quants and visual या फिर लॉजिक से मार्क्स नहीं आएंगे. और सीटी इतना अनप्रेडिक्टेबल है. कल अगर उन्होंने पूरे 200 का पेपर भी वोबल डाल दिया ना, तो भी दे आर नॉट अकाउंटेबल, बट यू आर, बिकॉज यू आर स्पेंडिंग सो मच ऑफ टाइम फॉर दिस, योर एंटायर करियर इज ऑन होल्ड. सो अगर हो रहा हो तो जस्ट स्टार्ट विद इट. एंड सिर्फ स्टार्ट करने की देरी है. वंस यू आर इनटू इट ना, यू विल ग्रेजुअली स्टार्ट बिल्डिंग दैट हैबिट एंड यू विल डू इट. बिकॉज आई डिड इट. मुझे वर्बल का वी नहीं आता था, मुझे ग्रामर नहीं आता था. आई विल से दैट ऑन अ वेरी ओपन फोरम. But now I feel so confident in talking and putting my point forward. Even if I fumble, even if I can't articulate my words, that's okay. Because what your intent is important, you're trying, right. That is important. And you shape up yourself in such a manner only. आप start करोगे तो आगे जाओगे, वरना आप नहीं जाओगे. Right. I'll say that here itself.
I think brilliant answer, Priyanka, and so many points to take home. The very important point, which even I like, is that VRC offers a time advantage like no other section can, right? Yeah. So let's say, even if you're solving 40 odd questions, not all 50, but you can solve it, let's say, in 25 odd minutes, that gives you a huge advantage. The second thing which I really liked about you, in fact, which can be applied to all these sections, is to make sure that you don't omit a particular section completely, because most of the times होता है कि यार ये section मेरा strong नहीं है, तो I won't be doing this. And there are many people who misguide students की चलता है, ये पूरा का पूरा भी छोड़ दो तो चलता है, but you never know उस दिन पेपर कैसे आ जाए. It may be skewed towards a particular section. Like there were times in CET 2021 wherein a particular section attributed to as high as 80-90 question. तो उस समय क्या करोगे? Right, so that point was really good. And like you pointed out, that VARC is not a one-day game, not also a 15 days game. Maybe reasoning के कुछ topics या cons हो जाए, but VARC takes time. And looking at your performance and even your conversation, no one will make this out that you were at a very beginner stage when you started. I think so it's a motivation, and in fact it's a live demo in front of everyone, that if you put in efforts for good number of days, I think the improvement will become more and more apparent. Yeah. Okay, so Priyanka will come at the concluding part of this interaction, and so I would be giving you a big task so that the students can benefit from this. So I would like you to help us with maybe a 2 to 3 months wala plan. Exactly, we don't know when the CET would be scheduled, but still a 2 to 3 months wala plan for the entire preparation of the aspirants.
Okay, so first I would say ki, well in doubt, you start a mock, because mocks gives you a perspective. Mock de do, and then you analyze your entire mock इरिस्पेक्टिव अगर आपका सिलेबस कंप्लीट ना भी हो तो भी मॉक देना चाहिए. मॉक दे दो, बस दे दो भाई, कुछ भी करो. आपको 50 मार्क्स आ रहा है, 60 मार्क्स आ रहा है, इट डजंट मैटर, जस्ट गिव अ मॉक. बिकॉज फर्स्ट you will study the importance of pressure. पहले तो what kind of pressure you can sustain.
Right.
Second, उस टाइम में आपको सूझता है कि नहीं, कौन से कॉन्सेप्ट्स यू कैन क्विकली गेन. जो आपको नहीं सूझता, यू मेक इट अ वेरी गुड लिस्ट. तीसरा कि आप कौन, जहाँ पे वेरी आपका सीमलेस एफर्ट्स जा रहा है, वेर यू एक्चुअली डोंट पुट एन एफर्ट बट यू कैन सॉल्व वेरी इजिली द क्वेश्चंस, you make these 3 charts very separate. And second is you start with your concept building. हर एक सेक्शन में concept building start करो, and then you give mock. Concept करो, you apply them. You learn a concept, you give a mock, you analyze the mock, you repeat things. Now 3 to 4 months में ऐसा कुछ अलग नहीं होने वाला है जो आप शायद साल भर से कुछ अलग करोगे. So if you just have to crack in those 3 to 4 months, first start with concepts which are very easy, which give you very quick marks, and concepts which are very easy to learn. जैसे quants में, DI में you should be very thorough. Start with percentages, ratios. 3-4 months में क्या, 15 दिन में you get very good acquainted with these ratios, these percentages. फटाफट you start inculcating that. And I would say start with little bit of Vedic maths, little bit, ज़्यादा डिटेल में जाने की गरज नहीं. इवन वर्कशॉप्स में सचिन सर ने सिखाया था हमें दोज वैदिक मैथ्स कॉन्सेप्ट्स. इतने कम टाइम में आप इतने जल्दी से सॉल्व करते हो ना, यू कैन नेवर, इतना इतना खुशी मिलती है when you solve that in very less time. So start with me Vedic maths. For verbal, for visual, I would say there is no hardcore shortcut for visual. You have to put in your efforts. रोज के रोज 25 क्वेश्चन एटलीस्ट करो, बिकॉज दैट विल हेल्प यू, दैट विल स्टार्ट हेल्पिंग. वो बिल्ड, वो जो पैटर्न है वो बिल्ड होना स्टार्ट होता है आपके माइंड में. स्टार्टिंग में नहीं होगा, यू विल फॉल्टर, यू विल गेट सम 10 to 12 मार्क्स, नो प्रॉब्लम. यू कीप एट इट, यू कीप एट इट, यू कीप एट इट. एट द एंड इट विल मेक सेंस. आपके पैटर्न्स आपको बहुत जल्दी से याद आएंगे and you'll start solving them. For verbal, I'll just say again, there is no shortcut, but you start with very low hanging fruits. जैसे probable starter हो गया, then para completion हो गया, जहाँ पे सिर्फ you have to write the end line. Then you have match the followings, बहुत easy. Para jumbles में अगर कोई दिया, if you are good with vocabulary, start. नहीं भी होना फिर भी start attempted questions. With the process you start building up your verbal, because there is no shortcut for verbal. I can't say if someone can actually build that shortcut, but you start, क्योंकि start करोगे तो कहाँ जाके end में पहुंचोगे. This is for verbal. DI, I would say start solving, क्योंकि what I used to do, मैं DI को बहुत पीछे रखा था. At the very end I realized the importance of DI. DI is just like verbal. कम टाइम में बहुत सारा मार्क्स आपको मिल सकता है. एंड डीआई का एक इतना इम्पोर्टेंट ये फैक्टर होता है कि तुम्हारे जो ऑप्शंस है, दैट एक्चुअली बिकम्स योर वेपन. बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव टू एक्चुअली सॉल्व द एंटायर थिंग. आप एलिमिनेट करके यू कैन एक्चुअली कम अप ऑन अ सिंगल आंसर. मेरी ये हैबिट रहती थी कि व्हेनेवर आई यूज्ड टू सी अ क्वेश्चन, आई स्टार्ट राइटिंग इट. जल्दी 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 सोल्यूशन करो. बट वो फर्स्ट लुक एट द क्वेश्चन, लुक एट द ऑप्शंस. यू हैव वेरी एक्सट्रीम रेंजेस, निकाल दो. अगर आपका परसेंटेज ही 25 दिया है, यू नो फीमेल परसेंटेज, और आपको उसके अंदर का ढूंढना है, तो 75 आएगा क्या आंसर? नहीं आएगा. सो एलिमिनेट इट. इट इज दैट सिंपल एंड इट इज दैट इजी. आप जैसे ऑप्शंस एलिमिनेट करते हो, यू गेट दैट फील एंड यू गेट दैट कॉन्फिडेंस दैट यू आर रीचिंग टू दैट सोल्यूशन वेरी क्विकली. सो स्टार्ट एलिमिनेटिंग ऑप्शंस. जस्ट डोंट पिक अप योर पेन एंड स्टार्ट राइटिंग इट. कॉन्सेप्चुअली वो डीआई को वैसे सॉल्व करो. एंड सेम विथ क्यूए. People are very very good in these eliminating. मैंने actually ये सारा concepts अपने friend circle में रह के ही सीखा है. I never knew these powers of options. So make a अच्छा group बनाओ, तुम्हारे like minded people जो तुम्हें actually guide करे, judge ना करे. तुम्हें कम मिला है, उनको ज्यादा मिला है, ऐसे ना सोचे. If everyone equally put efforts, you can actually learn a lot from those groups. Start building up your habit, and mock देना बहुत important है. क्योंकि ये सारा हो गया, यू नो, ये जो प्रैक्टिस वैक्टिस करना है, परफॉर्म आपको मेन मैदान में करना ही है. अ क्रिकेट प्लेयर गोज देयर एंड ही हैज टू एक्चुअली परफॉर्म. व्हेन दे 6 and 4 जब मारते हैं तो हमें खुशी मिलती है, बट उसके पीछे उनके आवर्स एंड आवर्स के नेट प्रैक्टिसेस होते हैं, वो नहीं दिखता, वो हम नहीं सोचते. So now you are in a position to actually play those net practices balls. Do it. जितना ज्यादा questions you can solve, just do it. Give mocks. कम भी मिले ना तो एक प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, क्योंकि मार्क्स मैटर नहीं करते. तुम्हारी
Right.
मेंटालिटी, तुम्हारी EQ, तुम्हारा पूरा you structure your body in such a way that you create an attitude, a personality, और वो अभी मैटर नहीं करेगा, बट इट विल मैटर ऑन दैट डी डे.
Right.
इवन जैसे अभिजीत ने भी बहुत अच्छे से कहा था कि पीपल जो 140 150 स्कोर करते हैं घर पे, दे आर अनेबल टू परफॉर्म ऑन द डी डे बिकॉज समथिंग हैपेंस, आई डोंट नो हाउ, बट यू परफॉर्म. अगर आप घर पे से एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर वे में स्टार्ट करते हो, इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ एनी लेस मार्क्स और मोर मार्क्स यू गेट, you build that persona, you build that mentality that you will perform on the D-Day. ये एक एटीट्यूड जब तक आता नहीं है ना, तुम परफॉर्म नहीं करोगे, because competitive exams are all about attitude, the thing you build कि करना ही है और मैं करूंगी, because अगर ये उधर नहीं आया ना तो नहीं होगा. Yeah, I would
Right.
say this one.
Right. Brilliant. I think so many points. So you started with mocks. So I'll just summarize her answer for all of you because I think there are so many good points. And in fact, you can take note of these. The very first thing she started with was writing mocks becomes really integral because most of the times we feel कि नहीं sir अभी तक पढ़ाई नहीं हुई है, we'll wait and last 15 दिन, but then maybe not too many, but maybe few mocks will help here and there. Concept building, that was a very good point that she put in, that you start from easier topics and then you move on. So maybe one of the things which I can borrow from our conversation and build on it is कि आप क्या कर सकते हो कि next 15 days या let's say January end तक आप लोग प्लान करो कि आपके सारे easy और moderate concepts पूरे cover हो जाए of all the sections, right? Like she stated कि जैसे percentage ratios वगैरह हो गया cons में, रीजनिंग में ट्रेडिशनल हो जाएगा, क्रिटिकल हो जाएगा, same with abstract, same with verbal. So make sure your easy to moderate concept, in fact your basics are well in place. Visual daily 25 she stated. DI का भी importance she gave. So DI make sure जैसे आप RC या puzzle regularly practice कर से हो वैसे DI regularly practice करो with good tactics. Having a group she mentioned, and it really helps because it also gives you a state of relaxation, I would say, or maybe a point wherein you can interact. Like she stated ki she knew many strategies just because she was in a good group. So and finally she talked about thought process. That was brilliantly put. It's more about here. So like they say that everything happens twice, when the second time it is in reality, but the first time it is here. So and in fact I heard one of the athletes say this, I don't remember who said, but लाइक यू सेड कि पता नहीं क्या होता है उस दिन जब डी डे होता है, स्पोर्ट्स में हो या एग्जाम में हो, बट वो प्रेशर अलग ही होता है. बट देन दैट एथलीट सेड दैट वन ऑफ द वेज थ्रू विच ही हैज बीन एबल टू maybe perform well throughout his career has been preparation. So preparation is one of those things which gives you that confidence and upper hand कि नहीं, I've done this, so I am in a position कि चलो I'll make sure I do my best. So I think excellent points, Priyanka. All these points are really valuable and the students will take a note of these. So here we come at the concluding phase of the discussion. So much of things that you have shared and so much good insights, and I'm really happy and I appreciate your maturity of thought process that you possess, because the way you put in the things, very well organized, and truly I think you have become an MBA person now, because of course you have been like this before also, but the way you put in, I think students will be able to take note of these in a very particular way. And yeah, also to the students, this was not a promotion wala video where she mentioned our name. It's just her opinions. But brilliant, Priyanka. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your efforts. And despite such a hectic schedule wherein you're spending 12 plus hours continuously on the academic journey, thank you so much for sparing time and being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me here. It was much pleasure. I was actually looking forward to it. So thank you so much. I'll just leave with a very one thought. I would just say कि only two things. When you believe in something now, believe in it always, pura, inexplicitly and unquestionably. बहुत सारे डाउट्स मुझे है, मेरे पूरे जर्नी में मेरे बहुत सारे अप्स एंड डाउन्स थे. आई एक्चुअली मेड माई वन ऑफ माई बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स इन दिस एंटायर जर्नी. आई यूज्ड टू टॉक टू हर लाइक एनीथिंग. इतने बहुत अप्स से ज्यादा बहुत डाउन्स थे मेरे लिए. बट एक्चुअली व्हाट हैपेंड इज दैट डाउन पार्ट मेड मी मोर स्ट्रांग एंड मोर mature टू टैकल माई अप पार्ट्स. वो अप में रहने के लिए वो डाउन का होना बहुत जरूरी होता है. और एंड में कैसा है ना, एक इंसान लूजर का टैग खुद ही पहनाता है और खुद ही उतारता है.
राइट.
तो आपको डिसाइड करना है दैट आपको वो पहने रहना है या आपको वो नीचे निकालना है. अगर निकालना है तो यू हैव टू कंसिस्टेंटली पुट एफर्ट्स. क्योंकि कितना भी स्मार्ट वर्क कर लो, कितना भी इंटेलिजेंट या टैलेंट होने दो, जब तक आप पूरा हार्ड वर्क नहीं पुट करते ना, तो नहीं होता. मेरे से तो नहीं हुआ. मैं तो आई वॉज अ वेरी एवरेज गर्ल. आई कैन से दैट आई डिड एवरीथिंग जस्ट बिकॉज आई कुड डू माई कुड सम ऑफ माई हार्ड वर्क. पुट इट नाउ, पुट इट अप. यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर योर करियर. आपके हाथ में होता है ये सब. आगे जो भी हो, आई अंडरस्टैंड बहुत एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स होते हैं. बट वेन यू आर इन अ वेरी गुड पोजिशन, अब मैं जिस पोजिशन में हूँ, अब वेन आई लुक बैक, इट ऑल मेक सेंस. एंड इट ड्राइव्स मी मोर टू पुट इन मोर एफर्ट्स टू मूव फॉरवर्ड. सो आई वुड जस्ट से कि ये जो तुम्हारी एफर्ट अभी है, दीज आर ऑल बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स. ये नहीं करोगे तो आगे सरवाइव नहीं कर पाओगे. सो अब से अगर चालू करोगे तो आगे जाओगे.
Right.
So yeah.
I think very motivational lines on a concluding note. And again, thank you so much, Priyanka. It's been really kind of you for giving us the time. So we'll stop over here, guys. We
Yeah.
hope that you extracted much information from this conversation that we had with Priyanka. Okay, do apply all those things. And so we would end over here. I would request all of you to please like and share this video with as many aspirants as possible, because believe me, this has a rich quantum of information when it goes with the conversation. Okay, so we will wind up over here. Thank you so much, everyone, and preparation jari rakho. Thank you.
Yeah. All the best.